Alright my friends, we're starting out super gentle and super easy, coming down into your child's pose. Regarding any knee injuries, if this is way too much for your knee, then just flip this posture over to a modified ball posture, meaning you bring your arms underside your knees. But otherwise, if you can handle child's pose, it's going to take nice, easy, deep breaths, feeling a nice stretch through our upper back. Might even feel a nice stretch along our inner thighs. Shifting your reach over to the left side of your mat, we're now going to stretch out our left side waist, close to the intercostal muscles. Switching it up and reaching for the other side. So now you reach over to your left, feeling a nice stretch through your right side waist, through the intercostal muscles, meaning the smaller muscles closest to the ribs, closest to the bone. Coming back to center, we're just going to shift our right arm underneath our chest. So we're coming into our thread the needle, still just staying in a child's pose variation. We're just adding a outer shoulder stretch to our outer right shoulder, but your left arm stays out and extended ahead of you. Lifting up slightly, you're now going to shift out arms. This time your left arm comes under your chest, just below your chin. Your right arm now remains extended. So now we're working on stretching out our outer left shoulder in our child's pose variation. Now we're shifting forward, coming onto all fours, shifting our knees inward if they weren't already, and coming into a nice gentle cat-cow. So exhaling on our cat, meaning we look down and our back arches, our cow, meaning the small of our back dips and we look up. Breathing at your own pace, moving at your own pace. We're just warming up our spine and getting through any cracks and crevices. Now from here, shifting your knees back just a bit. I personally like to grip onto the top of my mat so don't slide forward, but you're going to lower your chest as far as you can to the mat, just to open up through our lats and our triceps. I also like to balance up on my chin, but of course you can bring your forehead to the mat. Still feeling a nice gratifying stretch through our upper back, lats, triceps, maybe upper abs. And now you're going to use some of your core strength to curl up through your hips, wiggle through the shoulders and adjust, coming into a very easy Sphinx pose. Just holding this pose for a couple of breaths. And now adjusting your right arm out next to you. You're going to use your body weight to really emphasize a stretch through our right shoulder, while also bringing your left leg behind you. So your foot reaches somewhere behind you, next to the right side of your mat. So just breathing nice and deeply. You may need to move your arm up or down quite a lot to really find the hot spot. And once you do, you're going to breathe nice and deeply. Returning back to center. And now we're going to switch out sides, this time our left arm to the 45-degree angle, and our right leg comes behind us, this time over to the left side of our mat. So now we're getting a nice deep intense stretch on our left shoulder. Your body weight is going to help increase the amount of tension we put onto it. Breathing nice and deeply after however many adjustments you needed to make. Then coming back into center and then pressing your way up into your downward dog. If stillness is what you're after, then by all means stay still in your downward dog. But if there's a moderate amount of movement that you prefer, slowly walk your way out in downward dog by bending one knee at a time, nice and slow and per the rhythm of your breathing. Crossing now our left foot on the outside of our right foot to encourage a deeper stretch throughout our right side hamstring and calf. Whether or not your heel makes it to the ground isn't the point, just as long as you're feeling a nice deep stretch throughout your calf and hamstring. Switching out sides. Now you're going to bring your right foot on the outside of your left foot, feeling a nice deep stretch along your left side hamstring and calf. And now stepping your left foot to the front of the mat, instantly dropping your right knee, coming into our low sprinter's lunge. Keeping the upper body tall, head reaches for the sky. Hands make it for the ground unless you need props. I'm going to encourage a nice deep stretch throughout our right side hip flexor. You might feel it in your quad muscles. You might even feel it in both your inner thighs. So wherever you are and whatever you feel, breathing nice and deeply. And now shifting our way back into a half split, keeping those hips square. So whether or not you still need props at this point, I'm also choosing to flex my left foot, but you can absolutely keep it flat if you like. A flexed foot just entails a deeper stretch. Try to aim to get your forehead as close to your shin as you can. And now shifting back forward again into your sprinter's lunge. Heel toeing your left foot to the edge of your mat. On the last edge, you're going to lean your left knee away from you, and your toes are going to point just slightly away from your mat. So open your hands if that is more than enough for you. Otherwise, if you want to try it, come on down to your elbows and use props if needed. Otherwise, if you don't require props, come on down to your elbows. Try to make sure that your hips stay square and centered. You will find that after a while your hips start to sway off center, and you'll know when this is happening. The posture will suddenly become easy. So to make sure that you're in proper alignment, you'll definitely know that when your hips are staying centered, the posture will be fairly intense. So as intense as it'll be, breathe nice and deeply. Coming on back up, you're now going to heel toe your left foot as long as it takes until you reach the right side of your mat. We're now going to graciously and carefully come into our left side pigeon, making as many adjustments as needed. The main goal is to make sure that our hips are seemingly square, just as well making sure that your right leg is in the center of your mat. So I'm personally choosing to loop my elbow around my left foot, and I do eventually change up to placing my left elbow just alongside my left thigh. This is to help make sure that my upper body and hips are staying centered. So another very deep, intense stretch throughout our left hip and glute. As legend has it, we hold a lot of emotional and physical tension in our hips and glutes. So between lizard and pigeon, it's definitely the most intense stretches and the best ones to target the stress in our muscles, but also the emotional factor of it as well. So once again, in this posture, you're going to breathe nice and deep. Adjust as many times as you need to. Don't feel like you're being annoying on yourself. Just as I said about the shoulder opener, once you find that hot spot in your body, you're going to hold it and you're going to breathe nice and deeply. Your breath is like a comfort mechanism. And now coming on up, we're now going to adjust our way. You might need to adjust your foot forward a fraction. We're coming into our T-band stretch. So you're just going to straighten out through your right leg, straighten out through your left leg, so that you feel along your T-band, the muscle that runs along our outside hip, down to our outside knee, down to our outside ankle. So your left foot should be somewhere near your right hand. Hips stay square, and your right heel stays lifted. You might be up on your fingertips like me. So now adjusting your left foot back, stepping into downward dog. Just to neutralize and take a breath. Just to reset ourselves, getting ready for the other side of our body, on our right side. So now from here, we're going to step your right leg forward and instantly coming into our right side sprinter's lunge. So our left knee drops, our left toe stays tucked, but that is optional. We're going to reach down to the ground unless you need props. Now we're stretching out our left hip flexor. You might feel it in your left quads, you might feel it in your both your inner thighs. Wherever you're feeling it, you're going to breathe nice and deep, and then shift your weight back into your half splits. Flexing your feet is completely optional, especially your right foot. You can definitely keep your foot flat. So however much you've chosen to play around with this posture, you're going to breathe deeply as now we're stretching out from a different angle, our right side left hamstring and calf. And once again, seeing if we can't bring our forehead to our shin. Shifting back now into your low sprinter's lunge. So now you're going to slightly heel toe your right foot to the outside of your mat onto the nice edge. Your right knee leans away from you and your toes point just slightly away from your mat. So once again, come down to your elbows if it's accessible or if you want to give it a try. Otherwise, if upright is more than enough for you, stay upright. So once you are down onto your elbows, whether or not you've required props, sway a little through your hips if that feels nice, or if you just prefer to stay still. Breathing deeply no matter where you are, making sure that your hips are centered, and again you will know when you are centered. The posture will be quite intense. You're down on your elbow, see if you can't bring your forehead close to the mat. Now you're going to slowly come back up. You're going to start heel-toeing your right foot now to the left side of your mat, slowly coming into your right side pigeon, making as many adjustments as you need. All in all, keeping your hips as square as you can. Definitely making sure that you're keeping your left leg this time center of your mat. You're getting rather playful with your arms wherever feels most comfortable. Gripping your right foot or bringing both elbows in front. And or for a third factor, you can loop your left elbow around your right foot and just place your right elbow alongside your right thigh on the outer edge. This placement is just to help make sure that our upper body and hips stay as square as possible. You will naturally be a little bit off-centered, but the main goal is to be square through the hips, and even more to the goal is to breathe deeply and feel the emotional and the physical strain going away. Your muscles are loosening, slowly but surely, depending on how many times you've been in this posture. Now lifting up, leaning your head back. Whether or not you will require adjustments, pressing up into your T-band stretch. So now both legs are straight and your right foot is as close to your left hand as you can get it. You might even actually feel it in your hamstring and calf as well. Where the thing about the T-band stretch is the muscle doesn't actually stretch like every other muscle. It's more just an awareness sensation. It doesn't stretch out. So for as long as you've been holding it, if it's too much after a while, just meet me in downward dog. But if you've been able to hold it for this long, just for a few more breaths, you're probably up on your fingertips like me. Taking in one more deep breath, and now shifting your right leg to the back of your mat, joining up with your left foot into your downward dog, just briefly, just to neutralize our hips. Taking a moment to reset, shuffling or taking a step back, rolling through into your plank, down to your chaturanga, whatever that looks and feels like to you. Upward facing dog, whether or not you choose to lift up through your thighs. So now we're merging to the center of our mat. We're going to bring your feet together and allow your knees to fall away from you. Of course, if your knees are sky high like mine, that is completely fine. So I'm going to lean slightly forward, but pressing and leaning through the hips, not the lower back. Digging my elbows into my thighs / my calf muscle. And just gripping onto our feet to make sure that we don't fall back. It's like we're using our feet as a lifeline. So just breathing nice and deeply as we stretch out through the hips throughout this posture. So now we're going to adjust our way into our left side fire-log posture. So our right leg has a 45-degree angle, knee is in line with the hip, flex foot. Your left leg comes on top and same principle, 45-degree angle with a flexed foot. I do personally like to put my foot more in the crease of my knee, not so much directly on top because it's too uncomfortable. Of course, if you're anything like me with the knee at sky high, it's completely fine. We are treating this posture a lot like an easy seated pose with an added mudra hand position, but if you'd absolutely like to lean forward to really intensify this stretch, by all means you can lean forward, but I am personally just pressing through my hips, leaning forward from my hips, not my lower back. I mean, this posture is pretty intense no matter how far up or how far down you are. So wherever you are along this posture, just breathing nice and deeply. So now unstacking, and you're going to switch out sides. This time your right leg comes on top, keeping your knee as in line as your hips as you can. Both feet are flexed to protect the knees. You'll definitely find that one side's a lot more open than the other. My right side's a lot more open. As you can tell by my arms, they're almost evened out. So wherever you are, it's going to breathe nice and deep. Everything about our left and right side are generally very uneven to our surprise. My left side has a lot more resistance, considering that's my dominant side. My right side is a lot more open and a lot stronger. But of course, it could be the absolute opposite for you. Unstacking again. And now you're going to shift your weight back over into your downward dog. Just to neutralize at our hips and take a minute to reset. Stepping out to the middle of your mat on the outside, then stepping forward again. Heels in, toes out. Sinking low. Coming into our Malasana yogi squat. You're also going to dig your elbows into your knees, palms together, to help encourage pushing our thighs away from each other. So that way we get a nice satisfying stretch through our inner thighs, but also more specifically a nice deep stretch throughout our hips. It's another deep, amazing hip opener. Using one or both of your hands to slowly anchor your way back. You're going to come all the way down into the middle of your mat, then lay on back. We're going to come onto our right side spinal twist, meaning you're going to bring your left knee across the mat to your right side. Optional to look over your left shoulder. Also optional to stretch out your left arm away from you. Also option, you can use your right hand to anchor down your left knee. The goal isn't to reach your knee to the mat. If it happens, then amazing, whether or not you require props. The main goal is to feel a nice, satisfying stretch in your spine. And now we're coming back to center and switching out sides. Your right knee comes over to your left side mat. Left leg stays straight if you like. Looking over your right shoulder, optional. Arm outstretched, which is also an option. So now we're encouraging a counteractive stretch on our right side. Recentering, shifting your weight down a little bit more. I'm going to grab onto your feet, coming into your happy baby. If you can't reach your feet, go for your ankles, but if reaching for your feet is too easy, grab onto your big toes. Otherwise, sway side to side if that feels nice on your lumbar spine. Otherwise, just stay still. Bringing your knees as close to your mat as you can. Now keeping your feet together, you're going to lower your legs automatically into your reclined butterfly. Your hands rest on your inner thighs. Gravity will weigh your knees down. Slowly walking your feet out now, coming into our final pose, Shavasana, corpse pose. So feet about hip width apart, hands can flop outside of our yoga mat. It's going to breathe nice and deep and surrender ourselves to the floor. Not a single part of you is clenching on. No part of you is engaged. You're going to feel your chest and your belly and your ribcage rising and falling. I absolutely encourage you to stay in Shavasana for even longer, but if you're suddenly short of time, wiggle your fingers and toes, then in your own time roll over to your fetal position. Just as well, now slowly sit up into your easy seated pose, somewhere along the center of your mat. Crossing your feet into your easy seated pose. Once again, I'm personally choosing to bring my hands into Alay Mudra. I'm just going to sit here in stillness and peace and quiet for a while. If once again you are suddenly really short on time, feel free to wrap it up right here. Otherwise, if you can stay in your easy seated pose just for a little longer. Scooping your arms up to the sky, palms together, bringing your palms to your chest or near enough, scooping up again, palms together, into the third eye or chest. One more time for good measure, palms together, again into the third eye or your chest chakra. Just a nice deep breath in bowing it out to yourself, thanking yourself for this practice, for this flow, for being gentle on yourself during difficult times, whether a loss in your family, or just a bad day at school or at work, or a bad day no matter where you've been. I hope this flow benefited for you no matter what went on in your day or evening. Thank you all so much for flowing or just viewing. I do appreciate it either way. Thank you all so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Namaste.